WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
The coldest air so far this season is on its way. I'll show you when and where we'll end up with our first frost advisory.
Newly released 911 calls give us a better idea about the moments immediately following a deadly shooting in Cumberland County. What the caller told dispatchers about this scene.
And here's a live look at the midway at the State Fairgrounds. We'll take a look at the rush to inspect the tasty treats ahead of tomorrow's State Fair kickoff.
First, though, a cold front crossing our area will deliver the coldest air of the season so far. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio with a look at who is under a frost advisory tonight. Elizabeth.
It's not all of us, but everybody is going to see temperatures most likely dropping into the 30s overnight tonight. We have clear skies. If you remember this morning, we were following just a few isolated showers. Those were associated with a front, and now it's a little breezy, and it's definitely cool. Very happy to be wearing a jacket out here on the patio. And the wind picking up just a touch here, too. And, of course, that ushering in some of the cool air that we're going to end up seeing. Overnight tonight, we could be all the way down to 31 in Roxborough, 33 South Hill, 35 in Durham, 37 Fayetteville, 34 in Southern Pines. So widespread temperatures in the 30s, and we do have a frost advisory for our western counties. This is where it's more likely to be closer to freezing. So Roxborough, Hillsborough, Durham, Pittsboro, Siler City, Sanford, Southern Pines, Bass, Carthage, all areas where we have the potential to see some of that frost overnight tonight. And we'll look at it in a little different way. You can see the blue shaded area. That's where we're looking at, of course, the potential for some frosty conditions. We'll likely see this again tomorrow night as well. So, or I should say, so we'll see it tomorrow morning and Friday morning. And then after that, temperatures begin to warm up just slightly. But coming up, we're going to talk more about the cold temperatures and how it's going to feel as you step outside the next couple of mornings.
With newly released 911 calls giving us a better idea about the moments immediately following a shooting in Cumberland County. WRAL's Ken Smith listened to those calls and joins us with what he heard. Ken.
Jeff, this all happened in a neighborhood on Yarborough Road in Cumberland County. First off, investigators want to talk to this man in connection with a shooting that left two men dead. 42-year-old Desmond Moore is one for questioning in this investigation. Sky 5 flying over the neighborhood where the shooting happened. It appears the men were there to do some work on one of the homes when they were shot. Now, one of the callers to 911 appears to be the owner of the pressure washing business where the men worked.
I'm here at the customer's house cleaning, and I was at the house waiting for my workers to get here. About 20 minutes ago, I heard gunfire. Didn't think nothing of it, and my guys were late. So I walked up to the gate to see where they were, and they're lying up there. I believe they're dead, but my windows are all shot out on the truck, and they're laying there. I need an ambulance here. I need sheriff or someone here ASAP.
We are still waiting for Cumberland County investigators to release the identities of the two men who died. At least 10 evidence markers were scattered all over the ground where the men were shot in that Grace Creek neighborhood. Well, this is one of our top stories on WRAL.com. Look for any new developments in our news starting at 4.
Students at Appalachian State University returned to the classroom today. This is the first time in nearly 3 weeks they've been there. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey was there and talking to some of the folks who are working to repair the damage from Hurricane Helene.
This is Plymouth Student Union. It's the university's disaster relief hub. Students can come here if they need resources after Helene. And as they're returning back to campus today, many of them are seeking that help. After more than 2 weeks of canceled classes, App State students are back in the classroom. Some of them are facing hardships. What are some of the problems that they're facing now after the storm?
Well, a lot of them actually lost wages because businesses had to close in the immediate aftermath of the storm. And so students are coming in. They know down to the penny how much money they were not able to make during the time that they weren't able to work.
And that's just one problem. Housing is another. Some off-campus apartment buildings were destroyed during the storm. Faculty and staff are doing what they can to make accommodations.
They've all been really understanding and really great about it. Like, we already have a full plan for the rest of the semester.
Most students are returning to class in person today, but some classes will be virtual. As far as the area overall, here in Boone, most things have returned back to normal. All primary roads have reopened. Most secondary roads have reopened. There's just a few lane closures. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Boone.
More people affected by Helene can get help with insurance claims. The State Department of Insurance is opening victim assistance centers in Arden, which is south of Asheville, and Sugar Grove as well, which is near Boone. They'll be open until 4 today.
The Trump campaign is making more stops in North Carolina ahead of early voting tomorrow. The campaign's bus tour will make stops today in Burlington, Winston-Salem, and Mooresville. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, will also be in North Carolina today. He will attend a rally in Wilmington. Tomorrow, the bus tour will make 4 stops, including in Raleigh at the Wake County Speedway. And then on Monday, the former president will be in North Carolina to hold an event at the Concord Convention Center in Cabarrus County. Kamala Harris's running mate Tim Walz is visiting North Carolina this week. Tomorrow, he and former President Bill Clinton will visit with voters in Durham to encourage them to vote early. Then Walz will travel to Winston-Salem for a rally tomorrow night. This will be his 3rd visit to North Carolina since becoming the Democratic vice presidential nominee.
Oh boy, you can almost try hard enough. You can almost taste the deep fried Oreos and plantain on the way at the Midway. And we are now less than 24 hours from the opening of the 2024 State Fair. WRAL's Brett Neese is live at the fairgrounds where inspectors are making sure everything edible is also safe. Brett.
Hey, Jeff, it's a good day to be at the State Fair. Of course, it opens tomorrow, but, we got all kinds of people out here just trying to get those final preparations done before people come out here. We got rides there in the background. That's not what we're worried about today. Today, we're worried about the food. We got bacon over there. We got Tootsie's fried dough right there. We got pizza in the background over there as well. We actually were over at an oyster bar earlier today, a place that has been here for 20 years. Who thinks that I'm going to go to the fair and eat oysters? Well, let me tell you, the oyster bar that we were at today, they are a spot you got to check out here if you are out here for the State Fair over the next couple of days. The food inspectors that were there, they were some of the 40 food inspectors that were out here inspecting all of these stands, including Waypoint Oyster Bar. It's a oyster bar out of Columbia, North Carolina. And there's 150 food vendors that they are inspecting because they're trying to find things like proper food storage when it comes to temperature, proper hand washing stations, overall cleanliness, just to make sure that all of this food is safe for you to try once you get out here. And throughout the State Fair, they will actually have 2 teams of 2 walking around, making sure all of these stands stay in compliance for the 11 days that the fair is open. There are dozens, I think someone told me over 70 new foods to try out here. So if you're all about food, this is the spot to be starting tomorrow at noon. That's when gates open. We'll, of course, be here and we'll have full coverage throughout the State Fair. Live in Raleigh, Brett Neese, WRAL News.
Just in case we needed further proof, yeah. Be sure to stop by our tent to meet members of the WRAL team while you're out at the fair. We'll be located in our usual spot, northeast side of Dorton Arena. Chris Michaels and Keely Arthur will be there from 2 to 3 p.m. on Thursday. And then you can find Renee and me. I'll be out there with her 10:30 to 11:30. Cannot wait.
An impressive showing on Wall Street. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, up triple digits right now, 246. S&P 500 also advancing 8 points, and NASDAQ, the only one in the red, down 22 points at this hour. Pullman Park's popular Holiday Express returns this holiday season, and as in years past, they were selling fast. Around 10 a.m., some customers were reporting problems with the ticketing system. One parent reported that her payment information would not go through. Another user waiting in a virtual line to buy tickets for an hour. WRAL is a proud sponsor of Holiday Express.
Next at noon, Israeli airstrikes continue to pound targets in Lebanon. The concern with some of the areas hit hardest in Beirut.
Also, Meta is defending itself in lawsuits, claiming it hooked children on its platform. What the company wants to happen to those lawsuits, including one from North Carolina.
Plus, a federal investigation into gang activity in our area. At 12:30, what we expect to learn as 16 members of Hell's Angels are charged.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Welcome back. You're looking live at the Azalea Gardens here at WRAL. And look at that, all that sunshine, although we will barely get to 60 degrees today for our high because of that cold front. You're watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. Alex Murdaugh will pay $500,000 to settle a lawsuit over a deadly boat crash caused by his son in 2019. Mallory Beach was in the boat with his son, Paul, when it happened. Paul was underage and driving the boat while intoxicated at the time of the crash. Last summer, Beach's family also reached an $18 million settlement with the owners of the store where Paul used his older brother's ID to buy alcohol. In March of 2023, Alex Murdaugh was sentenced to life in prison for murdering his wife and son, Paul.
A restaurant near Boston, Massachusetts is temporarily closed after workers received threats from a group of historians dressed in costume. They were dining at a restaurant and the customers performed at a World War II reenactment earlier in the day. 4 were dressed as American soldiers, 1 as a military nurse, and 2 were dressed as SS soldiers. The museum that owns the outfits says it is not appropriate to wear the uniforms outside of historical or education context. They plan to tighten protocols. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky heads to Brussels tomorrow to meet EU leaders, where he will again push for acceptance of his victory plan. Zelensky shared his vision today with the Ukrainian parliament. The plan consists of 5 main points, which include an invitation to join NATO, more weapons faster with no restrictions on their use, and an economic plan that includes Ukraine's resources.
Israeli airstrikes pounded areas across Lebanon today, killing dozens of people with heaviest strikes in southern Beirut. Hezbollah has a strong presence in the area that was hit. Matt Bradley reports the area is also home to large numbers of civilians and people unaffiliated with the militant group.
Well, here in Lebanon's capital, things have been relatively quiet until just this morning. In the past couple of hours, we heard several loud blasts coming from that neighborhood of Dahia behind me. This is the site where Hassan Nasrallah was assassinated all those weeks ago, and the Israelis have continued to pummel it ever since. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu, in just the past couple of days, has said that essentially they're going to be hunting Hezbollah wherever they can find them, including here in the capital. But there have been striking points up north. There was a Christian village that was hit, one of the deadliest strikes so far in this now year-long conflict, killed at least 24 people. Most of them were people who had been displaced from the south of Lebanon, from that Shiite majority area, which is considered a Hezbollah stronghold. That is where Israel is conducting a ground invasion right now, and that is where we are seeing continued incursions by the Israelis. This is a war that looks like it's going to continue to go on, and people are continuing to be displaced. We just spent the day yesterday in the northern city of Tripoli, where there were hundreds of people who had come from all over Lebanon to a ferry to take a 12-hour journey across the water to Turkey. They felt they couldn't come to the airport down here because there's just continuing bombardments by the Israelis all around. They were too scared, so they were willing to endure a long journey, giving up their whole lives here to find salvation and safety abroad. Matt Bradley, NBC News, Beirut, Lebanon.
Delta joins a growing list of U.S. airlines to pause flights to Israel amid the fighting. Delta says it will be pausing flights between JFK and Tel Aviv through March 31st. American also plans to halt flights to the region until March. United Airlines canceled flight to Israel until further notice.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, the U.S. Navy says a fighter jet crashed with 2 people on board. This happened yesterday in Washington state. The plane crashed during a routine training flight. Search teams, including a U.S. Navy helicopter, have launched to try and find these 2 people and also examine that crash site. The Navy has not said whether those 2 were able to eject before the fighter jet crashed. The cause of that crash remains under investigation.
The sold-out concert for Carolina will be live-streamed to raise money for people affected by Helene. It'll be live-streamed on the website Veeps. Luke Combs and Eric Church will headline the concert. Garner Scotty McCreery, the Avett brothers, Chase Rice, and Parmalee have all also joined the lineup. People from the devastated areas of western North Carolina will be able to see it for free October 26th. Your generosity to those affected by this hurricane continues to astound us. So far, WRAL Cares has raised nearly $940,000 from over 4,000 donations. And you can still add to this number. Just scan the QR code on your screen. You can go to WRAL.com and search Help to donate. And while you're there, you'll also find a list of other ways that you can help support North Carolinians in need. such a great response from so many people out there. Keep it coming.
Yeah, and the weather's turning colder there in western North Carolina, too. Their morning lows are getting into the 30s, and for us, we'll get down into the upper 30s as well.
Don't be fooled by that sunshine out there right now. Elizabeth Gardner on the WRAL weather patio right now with a look at that radar.
Yeah, remember the sprinkles that we had here this morning? Well, it was snow flurries in the mountains. There were some places that had a little dusting. We saw the camera there at Lee's McRae in Banner Elk, and there was a dusting there early this morning. It's melted since then. They've started to see a little bit more sunshine as well. You can see the rain that came through earlier. It's still parked along the coast. There's a low pressure system there that isn't likely to have a major impact on our weather, but I'll show you what we are expecting. Number one, let's take a look first as we move through the satellite and radar and take a look at Futurecast. And you can see partly cloudy skies right now. There is a chance starting at around 6 or 7 that we end up with another disturbance that's to the north. I'm going to pause it right there at 3 o'clock. We're still partly cloudy, but as we pause at the next stop, you'll end up seeing that we do have some showers around 6 o'clock up near the Virginia line, and that will affect our western counties. So we're talking about Durham, Raleigh, most likely Chatham, Lee County, up until around midnight or so. At the same time, look over on the right side of your screen, and you can see that rain and how that pushes inland. Now, the cloudier we are, if we end up seeing more of those clouds from that rain that's sitting offshore, then we'll have a harder time seeing our temperatures drop well into the 30s. So we'll take a look at Futurecast, and we're going to widen it out this time. And take a look. You can see that low pressure system now moving up the coast. It gets a really good spin on it. It's not likely to be anything tropical because our air temperature is cool. The ocean temperature is really warm, but the Hurricane Center isn't picking up on this as a system that's likely to be tropical. But we'll take it out to lunchtime and everything starts to clear. We start to see that low pulling away. And because it rotates counterclockwise, it will be pushing cold air in. And so we have a really good chance of seeing some cold temperatures for Thursday night into Friday morning. But the big question is, with that low so close to us, will it be a little too cloudy? Will it be a little too breezy for us to actually see a lot of temperatures down near freezing? We do have a frost advisory, though, just to kind of cover the bases. It doesn't include Wake County, but if you do happen to have, we have these lovely plants out here in the gardens. If you do have house plants that are outside, now's a good time to go ahead and start bringing those in because we'll have, of course, cold temperatures tonight and cold temperatures tomorrow night. So if you're thinking about it, go ahead and bring them in. 57 is our temperature. Our dew point is 34, so it's very dry. It's a little breezy. We're seeing winds out of the north right now at about 10 to 15, gusting about 15 to 20 miles per hour. So a little breezy, but nothing terrible out there currently. We're taking a look at our temperatures, looking at mid to upper 50s right now. It's about in some places 5 to almost 10 degrees cooler than it was this time yesterday. And here's a look at our potential cold night. 32 in Roxborough, 33 South Hill, 33 in Lewisburg and in Siler City. So we're getting close to freezing. And then we head south. It's 33 Sanford, 36 Irwin, 34 Southern Pines, 36 in Clinton. So we're definitely close to seeing some of those really cold temperatures. We do have that frost advisory that's in effect from the Triangle area westward. And again, the only thing that might mess that up is that low that's sitting close to the coast. So something we'll be watching this evening and again early tomorrow morning. We're looking at a cold day for the first day of the NC State Fair. We're going to walk through our hour-by-hour forecast and look at the tropics where a system continues to try to develop. Coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. Voters are reporting some issues with mail-in ballots. How the Board of Elections is asking people to handle already sealed return envelopes and how they're protecting voter integrity. That story at 4.
And then at 5:30, 5 on your side shares how you can proactively protect your personal information in an age of data breaches. Still ahead this noon, though, a growing number of Americans with auto loans owe more than their vehicles are worth. How you can avoid additional drops in value.
And what do you get when you cross an Italian designer and a Houston-based startup? A luxury lunar outfit. Our first look at the fashion fit for space.
A growing number of Americans with auto loans owe more than their vehicles are worth. That's according to a new report from Edmunds.com, an online resource for vehicle inventory and expert car reviews. The average amount owed on these so-called upside-down loans climbed to an all-time high of nearly $6,500 during the third quarter. That compares to just over $5,800 a year earlier. Now, consumers can counter upside-down car loans by holding onto their vehicles for longer periods of time. They also should ensure regular maintenance is performed to avoid additional drops in value. Intel is cutting more than 15,000 positions as part of its new $10 billion cost-saving plan. Starting next month, Intel plans to lay off 1,300 of its employees at several campuses in Oregon. Those affected will receive either a 4-week or 60-day notice. They'll also receive 9 weeks of pay and benefits. The chip maker has struggled to keep up with competitors, especially when it comes to incorporating AI into chips.
Meta must defend itself against a lawsuit that claims it hooked children on its platforms. The social media company wanted to throw out 2 lawsuits, including one from more than 30 states, and that included North Carolina's. The lawsuits claim Meta enables mental health problems in teen users by making its apps addictive. The lawsuit seeks class action status and $5 billion in damages. Instagram is rolling out a new profile card feature. The latest update includes a 2-sided digital card. One side shows a QR code linking to the user's profile, making it easier to share. The other side shows the user's profile picture and bio. Users can even add extra links and a song.
After 75 years in business, hardware wholesale chain True Value is filing for bankruptcy. The chain blames a weak housing market for its demise. The company will continue day-to-day operations selling tools, lumber, and plumbing supplies to its 4,500 independently owned retailers. The chain plans to sell to rival Do It Best by the end of the year. And big changes are coming to a major U.S. airline. Delta Airlines plans to redesign the inside of its aircrafts. Cabins will see a revamp in seating, bathrooms, and lighting. Delta says the changes are based on customer feedback over the years.
More than a dozen members of a motorcycle gang are expected to face charges because of a deadly rivalry. How federal investigators are working to keep communities safe.
Both political campaigns are in Pennsylvania today, courting a key voting block. What is ahead today as those candidates zero in on November 5th. And here we have a look at your NC Education winning lottery numbers. We'll be right back.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
In less than 2 hours, we expect to learn more about a federal investigation into Hells Angels gang activity in our area.
Experts say violence between rival gangs can put people in danger on streets and public places. WRAL's Laura Levine explains the U.S. Attorney plans to announce federal charges against 16 members of the gang today.
This is all about cracking down on organized crime. U.S. Attorney Michael Easley will join several federal, state, and local law enforcement officers today right here outside of his office to announce the indictments and arrests related to what they call a Hells Angel racketeering enterprise. The federal indictment is related to the shooting and killing of rival gang member Jonas Padilla on New Year's Day 2023. Investigators say the killing was part of a gang rivalry that stretches from Raleigh to Fayetteville. The indictment spells out the inner workings of the Hells Angels, including how members were promoted. A motorcycle gang investigator tells WRAL rivalries such as this often put innocent members of the public at risk.
It's not uncommon for them to get stupid in public places, bars, things like that, with people that are not part of the motorcycle community at all.
So if convicted, they could face up to 25 years in federal prison. U.S. Attorney Michael Easley will be making this announcement today in a press conference beginning at 2 p.m. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
The chair of the Moore County Democratic Party is stepping down after being charged with stealing campaign signs. Lowell Simon announced his resignation yesterday. He was charged last week after the sheriff's office says he took 2 signs from Seven Lakes Drive in West End. Simon told WRAL he regrets taking the signs. He says he did it because they were blocking signs he put up. Simon is running for the North Carolina State House. He's due in court October 30th.
This morning, hundreds of Duke Energy employees and volunteers met to pack up supply kits for people in western North Carolina. The Rally for Relief event wrapped up about 30 minutes ago at the Raleigh Convention Center. Those teams packed up first aid kits, diapers, hygiene kits, water and food, and the Interfaith Food Shuttle is taking those items to the mountains.
We've got the North Carolina Diaper Bank, the American Red Cross, No Woman, No Girl here helping, but we've also had a lot of local companies help provide the things, Wegmans, Food Lion, Capital Broadcasting Company. So this is an exciting time for us to be able to help out the community in the Western North Carolina area.
The Duke Energy Foundation also announced over $1 million in disaster relief grants for communities across the state.
Now to the race for the White House, where Vice President Kamala Harris delivers remarks today in Pennsylvania before traveling to Milwaukee for a sit-down interview with Bret Baier of Fox News. This as former President Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, holds rallies in Pennsylvania and Connecticut. NBC's Peter Alexander reports.
Morning early voting has already begun. The key battleground Georgia shattering its first-day record for early and absentee voting, with more than 328,000 votes cast, more than twice as many as 4 years ago. It comes as former President Trump, in an interview with Fox News set to air this morning, doubled down on his inflammatory remarks, referring to Democrats as the enemy from within.
It is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists, and they're sick, so sick, and they're so evil.
The Harris campaign has seized on that language, warning voters a second Trump term would be dangerous.
Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged. And he is out for unchecked power.
Also pointing to a Trump appearance yesterday, not addressing the question of whether he'd commit to a peaceful transfer of power. Trump claiming the last one was peaceful, despite hundreds of his supporters storming the Capitol on January 6th, where more than 100 officers were assaulted.
But you had a peaceful, very peaceful. I left the morning that I was supposed to leave.
In an interview with popular radio host Charlemagne the God Tuesday, Vice President Harris amplifying the host's characterization of Trump.
The other is about fascism. Why can't we just say it?
Yes, we can say that.
Harris's interview part of trying to shore up the support of black voters, a key part of her coalition that polls suggest may be slipping. Trump on the attack.
Any African American or Hispanic, and you know how well I'm doing there, that votes for Kamala, you got to have your head examined, because they are really screwing you.
Harris arguing Trump and his allies are trying to distort her record.
Part of the challenge that I face is that they are trying to scare people away because they know they otherwise have nothing to run on. Ask Donald Trump what his plan is for Black America.
And attempting to cast one of her perceived weaknesses as a contrast to Trump.
They say you like to stick to your talking points, and some media says you have...
That would be called discipline.
And that was Peter Alexander reporting. Trump is scheduled to hold a high-dollar fundraiser tonight at Mar-a-Lago.
Former Fox News host Geraldo Rivera went from praising former President Donald Trump's first term in office to now endorsing Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. In an interview, Rivera said he was once proud to call Donald Trump his friend. Now Rivera says Americans cannot lose sight of Trump's actions following the 2020 election. Throwing his support behind Harris, Rivera called Trump a sore loser who cannot be trusted to honor the Constitution. New filings from the Federal Election Commission reveal Elon Musk donated nearly $75 million to the pro-Trump super PAC that he helped form. American PAC received its initial funding from a network of Musk's former partners and business associates. To date, the super PAC has spent nearly $96 million on the presidential race.
Are you registered to vote? And do you know where and when you'll vote? Learn about each of the candidates on your ballot, be informed, make your plan, and set a reminder to vote. You can do it all on WRAL.com. Search vote. Good news if you're thinking about visiting Yosemite National Park. The practice they are doing away with for at least the rest of the year.
And the holiday shopping season is almost here. What a new survey says more people will focus on instead of gifts, and the one change they can make to stay within their budget. Our team is working to bring you exclusive stories. For coverage you'll find only on WRAL, visit WRAL.com and search only.
Happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, an 18-year-old was just arrested for having a gun on NC State's campus. This is 18-year-old Romello Alston. He was charged with 4 counts, including carrying a concealed weapon and knowingly having a gun on campus. He also faces charges for entering a vehicle without the owner's consent. He's being held on a $25,000 bond.
This week's Teacher of the Week found her calling when she was in college. Now, 10 years later, she just can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah, WRAL's Ken Smith went to Harnett County for this surprise visit.
Miss Holloway.
That's her right over there.
You are WRAL's Teacher of the Week. Give her a round of applause. After the shock of our visit wore off, Morgan Holloway got back to teaching her kindergarten students at Northwest Harnett Elementary School.
Honestly, with me, it's the kindergarten, the age, and they grow so much in just a year, teaching them how to just be little people and how to read and write, and it's enjoying watching them learn.
Holloway says the best part of her day are those light bulb moments after she's worked with her students on a lesson over and over again.
And all of a sudden, they look at me, oh, Miss Holloway, I get it now, I understand. It's just the joy they get from when they get that concept that we've been working on.
Holloway says she doesn't mind every now and then doubling as a parent to her students. It's a role she relishes as a mother herself.
All right, my friends, I want you to open up to your favorite page. I see them more than their parents do during the day, so it's just loving them as much as I can and just being there for all aspects, not just a teacher, just hugging on them and loving them.
Ken Smith, WRAL News.
If you'd like to nominate a teacher, go to WRAL.com and enter Teacher of the Week in the search box.
We're getting our first look at the spacesuit astronauts will wear on NASA's Artemis 3 moon mission. We'll explain what makes this luxury lunar fashion reliable.
And we are pulling out the sweaters and coats this week because of cooler temperatures. This is a live look at... After the break, the WRAL weather team gives us a preview of our winter weather forecast.
Tickets are now on sale for Dave Chappelle's stand-up act at the DPAC. The show takes place Monday night at 8. Tickets are limited to 4 per person. The cheapest ticket price we've found is $155 right now. The performance will be cell phone free, and anyone caught using a cell phone during the show will be immediately escorted out of the show. Dave doesn't play. Atlanta is welcoming several big sporting events, including Super Bowl 62. Big game will be played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in 2028. It's the 4th time Atlanta has hosted the Super Bowl. The last time was 2019. The city also will host the NCAA football championship, a World Cup, and Final Four in the coming years.
NASA astronauts will be styling and profiling during their next moon mission. Prada and commercial space company Axiom Space unveiled these new designs for the new spacesuit today, each featuring a cropped torso and patches across the elbows and knees. Specially engineered boots will allow astronauts to spacewalk for at least 8 hours a day. These boots were made for spacewalking. The suits will also be made of a white material which reflects heat. The Artemis 3 mission is scheduled to take place in 2026. Very cool. Visitors no longer need a reservation to drive through Yosemite National Park. That's because the 2024 reservation season ended a few weeks early. The online requirement was created to help reduce overcrowding and traffic congestion during peak season. As for next year, it's unclear if the reservation system will be in place.
The number one question our weather team gets this time of year is, what is winter going to look like? Any snow out there? Meteorologist Chris Michaels shows us what the team is looking for ahead of its official forecast in November.
And snow lovers in North Carolina definitely chomping at the bits. This has been the 3rd longest snowless streak in the Triangle on record. The last time that we had snow was back in January of 2022. Some of the factors we're looking at include La Nina, an oceanic pattern in the Pacific Ocean that can influence the storm track in the eastern U.S. We're also keeping an eye on the amount of energy spent by hurricanes, as that can affect what needs to be spent by winter storms in the following season. And we're monitoring Siberian snow cover, as that actually influences how much cold air can seep down into the eastern U.S. No doubt, though, the definition of average snow has changed over the years. In the last 75 years, that average was 7 inches, but over the past 5 to 10 years, that average has gone down to 2 to 4 inches. A lot of that has to do with the fact that winter is the quickest warming season out of the year in the Triangle. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, otherwise known as NOAA, is going to be putting their winter outlook out tomorrow, Thursday at 11 a.m. We'll have that for you on WRAL.com.
Cannot wait for that here at 12:47 on our Wednesday afternoon, and the chill is in the air. If you're thinking about winter, this will get those thoughts rolling. Elizabeth Gardner out in the WRAL severe weather patio right now.
Yeah, I think we're thinking about it. We've got our first frost advisory tonight of this season, and then we could see another one again tomorrow night. And earlier this morning, I went and pulled the camera back up, but there was no more snow. Earlier this morning, there was a dusting there in Banner Elk, and it was really pretty to see that. You do feel for the folks in western North Carolina, though, because a lot of folks are out of their homes, lost everything, and of course the cold air is settling in. And I know a lot of folks have stepped up to help, and they can still use plenty of that. Well, let's take a look at the satellite. Right up above me, I've got beautiful blue skies here on the patio, a few big puffy cumulus clouds, and you can see that. Watch how, like right about lunchtime, just everything starts to turn a little whiter, sort of popcorn popping up there. So we're starting to see some cumulus clouds, and we may end up seeing those really thickening up as a disturbance comes in later on this evening. We'll roll Futurecast through from here on out and pause it right there at 6 o'clock. That's when we could see our next round of showers. We had a little bit of light rain this morning, but some patchy light rain moves across the border from Virginia starting around 5 or 6 o'clock through Roxborough, Durham, Raleigh. We'll pause it there at midnight. And the key is going to be how much cloud cover we see. We're still seeing some clouds there at midnight, but by the time we get to 4 or 5 a.m., we're fairly clear. If our skies can clear fast enough, we will easily drop into the 30s. If those clouds hang around for a while, we may not fall into the 30s. But just to cover the bases, the Weather Service, of course, issued that frost advisory, and we'll be, of course, continuing to share that with you. It's pretty here in the gardens this morning, or this afternoon, this lunchtime. A little bit of a breeze. We have gusts out here up to about 15 miles per hour, but it feels nice. Overnight tonight, we have the potential to drop on down into the low to mid 30s from Roxborough to Durham to South Hill, and some mid 30s across the rest of the viewing area. So if we do, it'll be the coldest morning that we've seen so far this season. And of course, this is our first frost advisory of the season. It is for our western counties: Roxborough, Hillsborough, Durham, Pittsburgh, Siler City, Sanford, Southern Pines, Carthage. Those are all areas in the frost advisory, not Wake County or anything eastward. Our average first fall freeze, not necessarily frost, but more like a hard freeze, tends to happen the last week of October for most of us, and our southern and eastern counties more like that first week of November. So yeah, we're getting there for sure. Pretty fall day for us today. Temperatures in the upper 50s in the north, right around 60 for the Triangle, low 60s in Fayetteville. So it's comfortably cool out here, especially in the shade. It feels really comfortable in the sun, but the breeze is a little on the chilly side. Speaking of breeze on the chilly side, make sure you take a jacket, a sweater with you, sweatshirt to the State Fair if you're going tomorrow. We'll see a high of 62 and then dropping into the 50s pretty quickly after sunset, but we will be dry and clear as a bell. It should be really pretty for the fair if you're headed out for that first opening day. We'll continue to see some warmer temperatures over the weekend. We're looking at 72 Saturday, 74 on Sunday, and the overnight lows warm up a little bit too. We still have a 40% chance of some development here in the tropics, but it still looks like it is just going to head into the Caribbean and not affect us. And the chances of development continue to go down. Once we get past tonight, we're looking at clear sailing and warming temperatures.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today.
Students at Appalachian State University returned to the classroom today for the first time in nearly 3 weeks. Most of those buildings have been repaired now, but there are a few areas still blocked off, including a concert hall on campus. All water and power has been restored on campus. Some classes are virtual today, though most of them are in person.
Newly released 911 calls are giving us a better idea about the moments immediately following a deadly shooting in Cumberland County. Investigators want to talk with this man in connection with the shooting that left 2 men dead. 42-year-old Desmond Moore is wanted for questioning in this investigation.
Today we'll get an update on charges filed against 16 members of the Hells Angels motorcycle gang. A federal indictment is related to the shooting and killing of rival gang member Jonas Padilla on New Year's Day 2023. U.S. Attorney Michael Easley is holding a news conference in Raleigh at 2 p.m. You can look for updates on WRAL.com and in the WRAL News app.
Americans are feeling optimistic about the economy and determined to get the best bang for their buck this holiday season. Deloitte's holiday retail survey reveals people plan to spend just under $1,800 on gifts. That's up 8% year over year. People also said that they'll spend less on traditional gifts and more on experiences. 7 out of 10 consumers expect higher prices, and they say they plan to adjust spending by cutting back on self-gifting.
Universal's new theme park promises to give visitors an epic time. The Epic Universe Park in Orlando will be fully operational as early as Memorial Day. The park will feature a marquee Harry Potter ride in the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Visitors can also ride through Donkey Kong Country in Super Nintendo World, explore the colorful Viking village at the center of How to Train Your Dragon, and much more out there. Ticket sales could launch as early as this month.
It is Wednesday, which means our pet of the day comes to us from Cat Angels NC. Alistair is a sweet and energetic 6-month-old that loves to play and explore. Alistair shared his foster home with a dog and would likely be okay with a cat. He's a savvy, calm dog, but he does love being around other cats. He also does well with nervous cats and older leave-me-alone cats as well. To meet Alistair in person, fill out an application on the Cat Angels website.
That's a curious cat right there. Construction has started on a highly anticipated development in Durham. Today on WRAL News at 4, WRAL's Monica Casey shows us the living options there will be there and the businesses that plan to become part of it all.
Thanks for spending your lunch hour with us. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, and your next local news update in 30 minutes.
You get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Have a great day. Stay warm.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.